Good afternoon and happy Friday, Unite Maths team. I'm just going to create this quick video to give you an overview of your instructions for today. I know that sometimes it's a little bit hard to interpret instructions when they're just written, and some of you prefer to hear them verbally as well. So your learning intention today is to apply strategies to calculate and graph direct proportion. That's what we've been working on all week, and we went through in greater detail during Wednesday's lesson. Success criteria. I can use tables to represent information within direct proportion scenarios. That's about reading the question and putting the information in a table. Second success criteria. I can use the table to draw conclusions about direct proportion scenarios. That's asking you to read the table and make judgments on the scenario from that table. It sounds tricky. You do it naturally anyway. And you can also represent information from tables on a graph. That should relate back to what we did sort of early term 4, late term 3 last year. So hopefully it's fresh in your mind. Like I say every lesson, guys, if you have any questions at all, please message me on Daymap, or send me, call me on Teams or something like that, because I will be available all lesson to support you with your problems. So I'm just going to run you through the instructions now. I just want to draw your attention. All work needs to be completed in your books. Okay, nothing new there. I will be checking them Tuesday morning when you get back to see how you guys have gone with the online learning, if you need any additional support, and perhaps if you need some additional support at lunchtime to catch up on any of the activities you've missed. All right, first part of your instructions. Watch the video. I'm going to link it here like normal. Then you need to complete the quizzes. This is the code. It's like set as a homework quizzes, so you should be able to just log on and complete it. It's about ratios. Please use the real name because I do want to monitor how you're going with the quizzes. There's no grannies allowed in this quiz. Just leave it at that. To those of you who that is directed at, you know. Secondly, you need to finish the graphing proportions activity that we were working on Wednesday. Can you just note that I've removed question 3? So I think question 4 has moved up into the space of question 3. All right, so same as normal. I think most of you got questions 1 done, but you need to have a look at questions 2 and 3. And I just wanted to pop a little hint here for you. If you ever see 0, so remember this is a direct proportion scenario. Remember we use that symbol here for direct proportion. We know that all direct proportion scenarios, when we graph them from tables, they need to run through the origin. So they need to start at 0, 0, which makes sense because in direct proportion scenarios like the Coke can scenario we looked at, if you don't buy any Coke cans, you haven't spent any money. If you haven't worked any days, you haven't earned any money. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Please ask questions if it doesn't. All right, let's head back to the instructions. Once you've done, you need to complete the shortbread activity. Now, this is star level differentiated. You guys are familiar with that from last year. 1-star level is the least amount of stretch. 3-star level is the most amount of stretch. I have differentiated, so there are 6 scenarios, but you need to try 3 of them. So I might actually just show you. It would be a lot easier if I did that, wouldn't it? You've got this recipe up here. So this is your main recipe. You need to have a look at the following recipes. See, I've got 1-star here, 2-star here, 3-star here, and look at how you need to change this recipe, or what you're doing to this recipe to make this recipe. So for example, if you look here, this recipe, the original recipe, requires 100 grams of butter. If you're using 200 grams of butter, that's 100 double to make 200 grams of butter. You need to double the rest of the recipe. And if you double the rest of the recipe, you're going to make double the number of slices, okay? So if you make 8 slices from the original recipe, doubling that recipe, you're going to end up with double 8 slices. I'm going to let you work that one out. Times tables. Same here, I might give you a little bit of a hint. So if we're using 50 grams of butter, the original recipe only calls for 100 grams of butter. If you're only using 50 grams of butter, Look at the relationship between 100 and 50. You must have done something to get from 150, therefore you need to follow suit throughout the rest of the recipe and decide how many slices you're making. Now, with the following, these two are a little bit trickier in terms of the sums and things you're going to have to do to work out the relationship between the original recipe and these two recipes. The recipes at the bottom are asking you to look at the slice number, okay? So if you looked at the original recipe, it made 8 slices. So if you're needing to make 12 slices, what do you need to do to the recipe? If you're making 50 slices, what do you need to do to the recipe? So you need to look at the proportion of 8 to 12 and decide what you need to do there. All right, hopefully that makes sense, guys. Your last activity is the proportional reasoning problems. You only need to do one of these questions, and like always, I've differentiated them using star levels. First question is a 1-star level. I have started you off on that table to support you if you're struggling, so I've put some of the information in. Remember, it's always good to go down to 1, so to find out what 1 gram would be worth, so that you can find out easily what 50 grams would be worth or 100 grams would be worth by multiplying that price by 50 by 100. Okay, and you'd be using these two numbers here to find out how much 1 gram is worth. So $4.99 divided by 150 grams would tell you how much you were having to pay for 1 gram. It's going to be in the cents. Okay. Question 2 is pretty similar to question 1. There's just a few more stretch questions in there asking you to apply your knowledge and then graph it. Now, question 3 is a bit of a challenge. I think some of you are up to it, especially if you guys are familiar with speed. It asks you to look at the speed of 2 motorcycle guys. You can tell I love to motorcycle. Speed equals distance over time, if that helps. So distance divided by time will tell you speed. What you need to look at is the graph. For one of the questions, I think it's part C, asks you which motorcycle rider is going the fastest. You need to look at how quickly their speed is or their distance is changing over time. As you can see here, this guy, the red rider, his speed has increased greatly, or his distance has increased greatly over 6 hours, whereas this blue rider, her speed has not increased at such a great rate. So you need to be looking at the slope or the gradient of the line. As always, guys, if you have any questions, please reach out on Teams. I am here to help you. Thankfully, this is our final lesson on Teams. I'm so excited to have you guys back in the classroom. I've missed you all so much. And I'm excited to be able to provide you guys with the support that you guys deserve but can't really access on Teams. So have a lovely weekend. I hope you're ready for Monday. I know I am. See you next week, guys.